Alrighty. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Birds the Word, brought to you by OCSN Sports Network. What's going on, fellas?
What's going on? Feel a little better now.
Yeah?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah. Well, we obviously we haven't gotten a talk since Sunday. I was away at a military conference and had to partake in fun games, waste some taxpayer dollars, and go to things for free. So um we haven't gotten to really discuss anything. And with us being on the brink of our second game of the season already, probably a good thing for us to recollect on some of the good, the bad, and the ugly from Sunday, and mentally prepare ourselves for what we're getting ready to roll into tomorrow night against the Minnesota Vikings. Um, so I guess without further ado, might as well roll into cover two and get right down to it. What you think?
let's get it.
Let me look at the safety depth chart real quick. Okay, done.
Yeah, exactly, right? Okay, so cover two is brought to you by Fanatics. Use that link below to pick up all your Eagles gear uh, for the upcoming season. Make sure you use our link. Yeah, be sure to check that stuff out. Fanatics is a good company, and they got some nice stuff out there. So, all right, boys. Well, Sunday was less than stellar out of this team. So let's just get down to it and break it down. Um, what were your guys' thoughts about Sunday and what we got out of these boys?
Go ahead, Matt.
So it was definitely a roller coaster ride, starting off with a hot, 16-0 start. And I was like, all right, here we go, rolling pretty well with defense making a big play. Slay having a 70-yard interception return. Offense looked pretty good. Ran the ball right down their throat. Had no problem doing anything, and then it just came to a halting stop.
Yep.
And I don't know if it was they got away. It seemed like they got away from the run for me a little too quickly, and they were just throwing the ball all over. Pass protection was absolutely atrocious for having the best offensive line, but it looked like they haven't played since the Super Bowl because they really haven't besides practice.
Right.
And you can only, yeah, you can run live practices, and I was excited to see these guys in live practices, but at the end of the day, it's a practice and not, an NFL regular season game. And it looked like they played their first game since the Super Bowl. But with that being said, as bad as they played, defense stepped up the last two drives. Jalen Hurts had a big fumble. And I think he'll move on from there, and I think he'll be better this Thursday night.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope so, right? It's definitely less than stellar is probably the word. I mean, they just it flat from the second quarter on. And I mean, they ended up putting up some more points. I mean, Jalen went 22 for 33, 170 yards, with one touchdown. Got sacked 3 times. Which actually is kind of shocking that he was only sacked three times, considering the pass protection and how bad it was. That was definitely a not what we're used to seeing. So yeah, I hope that this was the one off. You shook the cobwebs off, and we're back to normal ops starting tomorrow. But we'll see. I'm hopeful and optimistic, but yeah, definitely not what we wanted to see out of the gate. Carrington, what you got, bud?
I mean, I think perspective is a really important thing to have in this league. And the old saying, a win is a win, is definitely the thing. because God willing, we didn't lose Jalen Hurts, who's obviously the key, the cog, everything. The rest is real. Last year, Bill Belichick had the third best defense in the NFL, and we're playing on the road. And the first loss since the Super Bowl with high expectations. We have 3 new coaches on defense. We have a brand new offensive coordinator. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. It's pouring rain, torrential downpour. You look at the Cowboys; they won 40-0. Their defense played outstanding. They had a couple special team scores, but Dak Prescott didn't do anything better than Jalen Hurts did, and other than, of course, the one fumble. So I think perspective's really important, guys. I mean, it's hard to win in the last 17 quarterbacks that didn't win the Super Bowl right in their debut. I don't think they ever went back, and or they didn't make it back for a second time, after they lost their first Super Bowl. And that's 17 quarterbacks in a row that were good enough to get there, not good enough to get back. There's a reason. We're in the National Football League. This is hard. Nothing's going to be given to you. Belichick has 3 months to prepare for you. And despite that, Matt Jones threw 54 pass attempts. He only held the ball for 2.5 seconds, a pass attempt. Jake Elliott looks like the best Eagles kicker. At least to me, he's going to surpass David Akers this year. And Jalen Carter had one of the most impressive rookie defensive tackle debuts we've seen this part of the decade or longer. And I think there's a lot to be optimistic about, and there's a lot of perspective. I know that if I were the Chiefs or the Bengals or I were the Bills right now, I would be thinking, wow, why are we complaining so hard about a loss? Everyone's going to deal with injuries. The problems that were problems are still problems. Let's take the win. Let's be optimistic and positive and say, we got it. Carter just killing it. Oh, yeah. Jalen Carter absolutely killing it. And big shout out to Milton Williams, by the way.
Yes, so underrated. I thought of you the very first play when Zeke tried to go up the middle and just got absolutely stood up, and Milton Williams just beat off a double team and just stood him up right at the line of scrimmage. And I was like, well, there's play number 1, and we're 3 seconds into the season.
Glorious. He deserves it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we ultimately ended up obviously coming out of this with a win by 5, and I think you kind of already touched on the one person that, in my opinion, ended up being the player of the game, because this guy, had it not been for his foot, we might have been looking at a loss here. So, by and large, I think Jake Elliott was the MVP of that game, because it was his points ended up being the key factor in this, especially in the back half of that game. So, who was your guys' MVP in this game?
Both sides of the ball, or just offense, defense? What do you
let's just go overall, and who you think. But I mean, obviously, I think we both have I think everybody's kind of got a good idea of who our primary and secondary are.
Yeah. I mean, I think, Jalen Carter's the obvious slam dunk choice, but to kind of go a little deeper than that, I think Fletcher Cox is my MVP, because he had big play after big play. He's done nothing but take heat, especially from some people, that think they're pretty smart, that think maybe he should have gone off into the sunset. And some people are big idiots and giant morons, and they should, judge someone off the body of their work. Don't want to name any names, but rhymes with Schmerrington. So I think Fletcher Cox is the guy, man. He had tackles for loss. He was penetrating the line. He was setting the tone, and he was playing deep into games as well. The 4-headed rotation of Williams, Carter, and Cox. And, of course, somehow forgotten Jordan Davis, who was also sensational. I think the defensive tackles as a group have to be the MVP.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm inclined to agree with you. I think another guy that we thought highly of, and the only one that's been credited with double-digit tackles on the day is Reed Blankenship, which we'll get into the unfortunate nature of what we're getting ready to deal with, and the injury bugs hitting us already hard out the gate. Obviously, we lost. Nakobe Dean is out. Fletcher Cox is labeled as questionable. James Bradbury's out for tomorrow, which is another key loss on the cornerback front. And then obviously Reed Blankenship is out as well. So the injury bug's already hitting us. And
Gainwell. And Kenny Gainwell.
And then Kenny's another one. That's another scratch, which I guess that means Rashad Penny's going to be suiting up this week. He was the healthy scratch last week, so
My thing is, I know we talked about the running back situation and how they were going to mirror one another, like get maybe like 12 touches, 8 touches, somewhere around there with like Swift and that. But then with the other running backs barely seeing the field for a touch purpose anyway. I know Swift got a lot of snaps, but he got, I think, 2 passes thrown his way and 1 carry. And
it's a lot.
If you're gonna go with that one running back guy, then I would actually revisit the Jonathan Taylor situation. I know I was speaking out against it before, but if you're gonna go with one guy, I don't trust Kenny Gainwell to be that guy over 17 games.
No, I definitely agree with you. Yeah.
I don't think that's their idea coming in. I don't know what happened with their play calling or doing whatnot, and I don't think it was correct to not give Swift any carries after that, especially with, I think, Gainwell after his second run that he went for like 8 yards. I think his average was like 1.9 yards per carry after that, which is horrendous.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And if you look, there was something between 9 to 11 pressures allowed by our 3 very best offensive linemen. Ironically, Cam Jurgens probably played better than most. He and Kelsey played really, really well. And the other 3 had some of the worst games I've seen probably in the last 3 to 5 years. So if you look at just the absolutely insurmountable list of things that were going against us, that were kind of weighing in the, I'm not that concerned about the offense. I'm not concerned about running back. I think DeAndre Swift needs to get involved. The talking heads, who are in charge are saying the same thing. And so I'm not concerned about running back as much. But isn't that a game you would have really liked to have Rashad Penny?
Yeah.
I mean, is he not the prototypical type running back to take the ball and just ground it and pound it? So if they're not going to commit to the run heavily long term, then, I don't want Taylor because I don't want to spend the money or resources.
I agree.
But if they do it, then you're 100% right. And, if it costs you a second round pick, basically, and go get him and get your guy and, run it to the ground. But Hurts didn't even run well. He had the fumble. He had, he limited yards, but he was getting smacked all over the field. And I don't care how many weapons or, Heisman winners you have. Ask Reggie Bush what it's like to get to the NFL and run without an offensive line. No Gouda.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were we were looking at someone that clearly even seemed uncomfortable in the passing game in some form or fashion. It didn't seem as fluent as he'd been in the past with going through his progressions and really trying to find these guys. But at the same time, he had to get out of the pocket basically as soon as he dropped back. So the unfortunate thing is he just, I think we had kind of touched on it last week was, New England had where we thought New England was going to be lacking in regards to defensive backs, and we thought maybe, we're going to light these guys up. It ended up not being the case. I mean, these guys they had our receivers number from the jump. I mean, the highest
AJ Brown, I think.
Yeah, it was 23. It was that's it. I mean, that was the longest pass of the day was 23 yards.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think Hurts didn't have much time to be able to push the ball down the field. Unfortunately, it's terrible, and I'll be the first one to put my foot in my mouth. I was sitting here last week saying I couldn't name 5 guys on the Patriots defense anymore, and they came out to play. They were not messing around, and I feel like the Eagles got up 16-0, and they took their foot off the gas, or just maybe not thinking it, but just I think as a human being, it went so easy. You're up 16-0. against a team that's not supposed to be very, very good in their division and everything, and they just got punched right in the mouth, and they got in a dogfight for four quarters. You
Yeah.
know,
In kind of shades of Detroit last year,
Yeah.
right? Coming out
Right.
cold after a disappointing end to a season,
Yep.
some new additions, some pluses, minuses. Stupid Gannon's still there. Screw that guy. And shades of Detroit, man. We came out there and we got up big. You guys remember we had that big interception return versus Detroit too. And all of a sudden the defense just looked leaky as hell. And TJ Edwards, and he's a good middle linebacker, right? But he and Kaiser, all these guys that we lost that, people are like, oh, we should have retained. They were dog shit in coverage in week 1 as well, dog shit. And so if you can't, if you're not going to spend $54 million on a linebacker that, you can go get some of these also ran first round picks for. Seems like the Titans are our new farm system.
Yeah.
So,
Rashad Evans.
Yeah, Rashad Evans. Yeah, Titans. Yeah, exactly. Yes.
We've been doing this shit forever. We've been poaching talent from the Titans for a long period of time.
Yeah, and so I think you look at a team, and then Detroit ended up actually that close win, which everybody, again, just like this one, absolutely dogged us for. Looks pretty damn good now, doesn't it? So it's early, we have time, but definitely we need some sort of upgrade either at safety or at linebacker, one or the other at least, to solidify, the back 6 to 7, 8, depending how they play, because it's not going to cut it for the full season.
Yeah,
where we're at, it's got to be a linebacker, right?
Yeah.
I mean, where else do you, at this point, the linebacker position is worth it. Christian Ellis, the guy that we didn't even think was going to be the guy, is now the guy. So
he is the green dot wearer.
Yeah.
It was going to be him and Reed Blankenship, and Reed's out for Sunday. So now we're going to have, possibly Cindy Brown and Justin Evans back there with, Ellis and Cunningham in coverage against Hawkinson. So, it's going to be interesting.
Poor Sidney Brown.
For sure. And Sidney Brown's going to be flying around with his head cut off. He's going to make some good plays, but he's going to get blown in coverage. I know I'm already expecting it.
But I feel so bad for him because
Kirk Cousins will make you pay. Yeah, Kirk Cousins is going to make you pay for it, and that's the unfortunate thing. And he's got the bodies to throw to. Freaking Mac Jones doesn't have anybody up in New England, and they
Kendrick torched us.
Yeah. And I mean, it's so we are screwed if we think that Justin Jefferson is going to not end up having a big game. I think we need to be mentally prepared for possibly another dogfight to that point. So
I know it. Sorry, go ahead. No, I said I know it. I'm not expecting Slay to do what he did last year. Justin Jefferson. Jefferson has had this circled on his calendar since the end of the season. He's too good of a receiver. Now, I'm not going to say, if he has 7 catches for 80 yards, I'll be happy with that. I will be ecstatic if that's what he ends up with. You know what I mean? Right. I don't want a 7 catch for 142 yards and 2 touchdowns coming in. But I think they're going to get back to pounding the football. That's what worked best in the first half or the first quarter of last game, and they're going to have to set the tone of having this. And hopefully the defensive line can get home. But I think you're going to see a lot more teams this season just do quick hitters. Try to get the ball out so these defensive linemen don't even have time to even get to you.
What you got, Carrington?
Yeah, I mean, I think just to echo what Matt said, I think you're going to see the quick hitters, right? We kind of talked about eliminating the pressure, kind of playing into the strength of the defense is not going to what people are thinking or doing. But I think you might see kind of a Nnamdi Asomugha stat line, right? Where he has 0 picks, 0 tackles, 0 interceptions, 0 deflections, yet he erased the receiver out of the game. But in reverse, now you have Jordan Addison, to your point, Tommy. Like, this is a whole different situation for the Vikings. They somehow paid, Hawkinson or Hoskinson or whatever. Too many vowels, that's for damn sure. And they made him like one of the highest paid tight ends ever. And but they have some bodies and they have some people they can throw to. But what they don't have is an offensive line. Their left tackle may be out. Their center is out for sure. potentially a guard as well. And you have to protect. You're right. We just learned that lesson, a few days ago. Feels like we played the game yesterday to me.
Yeah. And knock on wood, they also have Kirk Cousins in prime time. So that's also a thing they got going for them.
He's
But
awful.
I'm gonna knock on wood on that one because I have a feeling it's gonna bite me in the ass if I say it. Yeah. Yeah. If it was 1 o'clock, I'd be a little more worried, but 8:30 game in prime time might be all right.
No doubt.
And the home opener, so that place is gonna be fucking flying.
We're rocking, yeah. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into fourth and season and break down this offense a little bit more. Kind of discuss what we saw and what we're expecting to see tomorrow.
Trying to stop a 4th and 26 and in essence take over. Plenty of time. Down the middle, it's Mitchell. Where will they spot him? They're going to get forward progress and a first down.
Okay, so fourth season is brought to you by Righteous Felon. Go to righteousfelon.com. Use promo code OCSN for 15% off best beef jerky around. Any orders over $50 get you free shipping on that jerky. So definitely check that stuff out. All right, so we already kind of touched on Jalen Hurts and his stat line for that game on Sunday. Pretty unimpressive, but with the nature and protection of in which he was getting, not surprising. I guess is the word for this. So hopefully Stoutland ripped these guys a new asshole, and we're a little bit better prepared because obviously we're getting ready to play a Minnesota Vikings team that. Their defensive line is not as good as it's been in the past, but they have a familiar face at right inside linebacker with old Jordan Hicks there, who was an Eagle there for a minute. But is there any levels of concern about our offense moving against this 3-4 defense of Minnesota? Obviously, Minnesota took a loss last week, so they're already 0-1, and
a lot of points given up too. I believe, if I remember.
Actually, not too much. 20-17. Yeah,
I couldn't remember. Yeah, another game then. But offense. No, so to touch on last game too, I think if Hurts ends up reading his progressions like he should have, it if he had time to, or if it wasn't his first game playing live action, he had 3 touchdowns available to him at that time. Dallas Goedert was wide open with nobody on that side of the football field, and he just didn't even see him. And Goedert was jumping up and down and screaming, for him to call his name, and then he tried to force it to Goedert the next play, and Devontae Smith was wide open. On 4th down, I believe it was. So I don't think he will make that mistake again. He seems to not be a creature of habit with making mistakes. He seems to fix them pretty quickly. So I'm looking forward to him hitting those guys, and hopefully Brian Johnson and Sirianni can just get him into a rhythm. He never got into a rhythm last game. It was never like 4-yard pass here, a 5-yard pass here. It was like, all right, let's try for 12 yards and 17 yards and 20 yards and back down to 10 yards. It's like, let's just get in some rhythm, get moving, and get these guys moving around. So hopefully that'll happen this coming week.
Carrington, what you got, bud?
Well, I agree. I mean, I think the rest was evident and everything. If there was anybody I didn't expect really to struggle as much, it was Brian Johnson. But again, down torrential rain, he can't make the decision for Hurts. There were plenty of receivers that were wide ass open. He can't make, your tackles give up 9 pressures or something combined, against a very subpar pass rush. And there was also situations where it was a 5-on-6 blocking situation, and there were no checks made. There were no running backs, checked into blocking. Running backs missed. Just obvious. That was kind of always been Gainwell's big knock, and miss obvious blocking assignments. And I think he called an okay game. It was, like you said, Matt, the inconsistency. And then by the time he settled down, then he reeled off chunk plays to A.J. Brown, right?
Yep.
A.J. Brown, and then you're gashing him for a few yards at a time, and you're taking advantage of the desperation, what they're expecting to have coming. But I don't have a lot of fear for Brian Johnson. He and Jalen Hurts have worked together at so many different levels, even before the pros, and they have a lot of camaraderie together and honest dialogue. So if there's anyone that's going to look at that game and go, rain or not, I sucked, and the offense sucked as a result, it's going to be the offensive line, Stoutland and Jalen Hurts.
Right. Yeah, I think that's definitely a valid point, but obviously, I think the game plan is about to shift ever so slightly with the loss of Kenny Gainwell and where this offense looked like it was potentially going based off of how many times Kenny Gainwell was out there and seemed to be the guy. I'm wondering if we're getting ready to this running back by committee thing that we were anticipating on seeing is actually going to end up becoming more of a realization this go around and potentially using all these guys at their disposal because Boston Scott only had one carry on the day. DeAndre, like you said, only had one carry on the day, and then Kenny Gainwell had the ball 14 times, which oddly enough seems significantly lower than what we were anticipating. I think we were saying this was going to be the game that was going to be we were going to be running the ball like crazy. So the fact that we ended up not ultimately seeing that is something that it kind of shocked me a little bit. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
I think the offensive line is going to come in a little pissed off too. They got absolutely pushed around. And that does not look like Tommy. They got absolutely pushed around on Sunday, especially by guys like rookies like Keon White. Keon White was out there looking like Khalil Mack was getting pressure after pressure after pressure after pressure, and I'm like, all right, when is it going to stop?
Yeah, I think Keon's one of those guys who's 23 or 24 already, and he was at Georgia Tech for seemingly a lifetime. So I think that him having an instant impact was shocking against our offensive line, but maybe not in general. I know he was really big, high up on the Eagles' radar if Nolan Smith wasn't there. My biggest concern is it wasn't necessarily the play calling or the rain or the consistency. It was the just general, like we got up big and then it just seems like we stopped. Yeah. And there was a couple times last year it felt like that too, Lions game, but some other games where it's just like, wow, we have a huge lead and let's pack it in. And we need to kind of keep our foot on the gas. I mean, Hurts is really good in the pocket, one of the best quarterbacks passing in the pocket, really statistically, probably the best. And only because Mahomes starts every play 10 yards to the right or to the left, and so do his offensive linemen, as it turns out.
Apparently.
Jeez, that was crazy.
That was fucking wild. I've never seen anything like that. No. And for them not to call it for 3.5 quarters blew my mind. And I hate Chris Collinsworth. But when Chris Collinsworth said that he was lining up as a slot receiver, I almost pissed myself because I could not stop laughing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Collinsworth used to be okay-ish, but man, like the last 6 to 8 years, he's just brutal.
But with them lining up, I'm like, this guy is getting a 3-yard head start. I don't know how he's getting that, but no, I think the Eagles' offensive line is going to be a little pissed, a little irritated, and I think they're going to look to run block a lot more, hopefully, and just kind of bully some people.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at the sets we wanted to be in, right, and who's going to play what position. They kept 4 tight ends, right? But I'm looking at the sheet here. So Goddard plays 61 snaps, about every snap available pretty much. Yeah. And Jack Stoll, who's their best blocking tight end by far, plays 13 snaps. Calcaterra gets 4 snaps. And then the trade for the other tight end seems even stranger to me if you're not going to line up in a lot of 12 and 13 personnel. and maybe the situations weren't there, but line up. You have Goddard and Stoll who can block. You have 5 offensive linemen who aren't pass blocking well. Line up and knock them in the mouth a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's what concerns me is the lack of philosophy change. Just maybe the arrogance or maybe the feeling out process. It could be a combination of both. But you have to find somebody has to be the leader. It's what they say in the replacements, right? There's got to be a leader out there, and it has to be you, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's I definitely think we're going to be seeing a different. We're going to see a whole different look out of this offensive line, and utilizing these weapons that we have more effectively to one, not only give Hurts a minute because it didn't seem like he was able to have one, but it's also going to we got to spread this workload out, because you end up what we ended up seeing is Gainwell ended up being the guy that carried the ball for 14 carries and ended up being essentially the guy. It's hard not to think back and go, maybe if they would have spread this out a little bit, maybe he doesn't get hurt. Maybe we end up opening up the field a little bit more, because of the nature of what these guys are and what their strengths and weaknesses are. By putting DeAndre Swift out there and expanding that field and opening it up and having these guys being spread out opens up that potential for Gainwell to be able to get that big yardage that he was trying to get up the middle, that he couldn't seem to get up to speed to be able to even do that. And then, utilizing Penny, which he ultimately ended up not playing at all, but having that guy on the goal line to be able to punch it in and punch it down these guys' throats was something that we would have been more effective in some of them situations where he ended up throwing it to guys that weren't open, when we could have ended up using Penny in a more effective role on that game. So it's just, I'm hoping that I'm hoping the cobwebs are shooken out of everybody, and that we're going to see that dynamic offense that we saw last year that was putting up points on a regular basis, and a lot of them.
Listen, man, we didn't lose the game when Aaron Rodgers played 4 snaps. All right. When you said the Bills were cooked, Tommy, I thought, yeah, kind of 50-50. You're right. They're fucking cooked. That's it. And they got some stuff, as my wife would say. They got some stuff. So you look at the Chiefs, blowing that game. It was shocking to me with all the advantages, as Matt and I were just discussing, that they had. And
old boy that was he jumping off the ball like 3 steps ahead of everybody else, and the fact that he was playing a slot receiver.
I was as Chris Collinsworth lining up as a slot receiver, I almost fell off my couch.
Yeah, your right tackles in St. Louis and your games in Kansas City, like it's really tough. But they had a lot of advantages, different things, and all that matters is that you came out with the win. And I know I keep saying that, but it's very easy, especially when you do. I think what the 3 of us do. We eat and sleep Eagles, and we dissect everything. We have high expectations, and we have good opinions of everyone's potential. We know what the leaps people could take and everything else, and so we have high expectations after going to a Super Bowl and seeing Hurts, and we came out in a fucking tsunami, and we came out dry, and that's the important thing.
Yeah. No, I think it's we're going to be critical of these guys when it comes down to it. Because of the nature of where they were at last year, and I think a lot of us are still even riding on that high, in a way, just because of especially when it comes to Philadelphia and where we've been with sports over the course of that time, because it was like we had just watched the Phillies get to the championship game and then have the Eagles essentially do the same thing. We tend to we hold our players to a little bit more of a higher standard than most, especially, and I think to our point, we've been so high on this offensive line for so long, and they're high on everybody's list across the whole entire spectrum. I mean, every news outlet, and they've been very critical of them over the course of the last 24 to 48 hours. I'm pretty sure like half these guys have been lit up. This isn't the Eagles' offensive line that we're used to. That's become synonymous with being the best offensive line in football. But fact of the matter is that it is the same guys. It's not like this is we didn't lose anybody to injury. It's going to be the same folks. And yeah, they'll get it right. We know that they're going to get it right. Jason Kelsey's not one to let the offensive line falter week in and week out. That's not in his nature either. So I'm not necessarily worried about it. It's just it was. I guess the best way to put it is it was eye-opening to see that we have a weakness, that there's a point there that we're not this perfect storm of shit. And I think that's what it is.
Yeah, like I'm actually not happy the way they played, obviously, but I'm glad they kind of got punched in the mouth the way they did, because you're coming into a Thursday night game now with a Vikings team, like I said, that doesn't want to go 0-2 in the NFC.
Right.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and they're a good football team. They're not a slouch of a football team. And like Carrington said, you played against a Bill Belichick defense that had 6 months to prepare for you coming in. You know what I mean? Say what you want about him, he's still a great defensive-minded coach. He gets guys to play at an all-pro level that we've never heard of before. Doesn't matter.
Right.
And if I'm giving you stats and I'm saying 54% completion, 143 yards passing, 0 touchdowns, you probably wouldn't assume that's a 40-0 Dallas Cowboys game.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And so Dak Prescott didn't set the world on fire. Everything is still spinning. All the rules we know, gravity still exists. Everything's still fine. Death taxes and, Greg Ward on the practice squad, and now Dak Prescott never making it to a Super Bowl. I mean, these things we know to be true, and they won 40-0. So like you said, Matt, it's not a good thing, but at least if you're going to flip a negative into a positive, we started off on the bottom and from sort of a slump. And we came out, still got the win, didn't suffer the stat issue with it or division issue with it. A lot of teams lost that were contenders, and Dak Prescott played like shit, and they think he's God now. So it's once again this week.
I'm just happy my quarterback didn't sign a $55 million contract and then threw for 87 yards. So I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
And exactly. 4 turnovers.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, I think that about covers it on the offensive front. We kind of covered, what we're anticipating out of them this coming week and what we ended up seeing last week. So let's go ahead and get into our always favorite nickels and dimes. Okay, so Nickels and Dimes is brought to you by Outlaw Mile High Beer. Check it out at Tivoli Brewing Company in Colorado. You can also pick up a case online, have it shipped to your house anywhere in the continental United States. Really good beer. It was definitely the beer of the summer for me. Drank a lot of it. So definitely check them out if you haven't done so already. Dallas fans saying we them boys. Clown.
They are them boys. Like credit where credit due.
They
What's that?
credit where credit's due. They are them boys, because the last time they were in the Super Bowl, all their fans were little boys. So
Yeah.
that's credit where credit's due, Steven. You still them boys. Sleeping.
This guy, man. But yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. You know, dust off those old VHS tapes to be all right.
Yep, for sure.
Just
All right,
kidding.
boys. Yeah, not really. Our defense is getting ready to go up against a pretty solid. He's obviously not going to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. It's just the nature of where he's at and what he's being given. But Kirk Cousins is not a schlub. He is a solid starting quarterback for any team. I'm sure anybody would be happy to have him. But as we have already pointed out, we're getting ready to play Kirk Cousins in prime time, and we know how this typically goes. So I'm optimistic that we're getting ready to see a lot more out of this defense. But unfortunately, we lost some key players on the defensive front that we hold in very high regard, and we're getting ready to have to try and figure out how we are going to be able to stop Justin Jefferson. And I don't think Madison's necessarily a problem, but we could potentially shift our focus to one player, and then the other one lights us up on the other end. So, what's your guys' thoughts?
Kurt?
Matt, what you got?
I'm not really worried about it too much. Like you said, if we can take out Justin Jefferson out of the game, like I said earlier, not as much as last year. I don't think it's going to be done again. It's very difficult to do.
Yep.
But if they can just keep him in check, I think this is a definite win for them. They're going to have a rookie wide receiver on the other side, and Jordan Addison, who's no slouch, but he's not a true proven NFL player yet. And it's going to be fun with Bradbury out, seeing Josh Jobin and Eli Ricks out there with trying covering him, and just with the continuation of pressure of coming into this game with the defensive line, they do try to push the ball to Justin Jefferson, and rightfully so. So Kirk Cousins might have a little deeper, dropbacks, and with the way that Jordan Davis played last game, who was such an underrated, phenomenal player.
Right.
Last week in Jalen Carter and Sweat and these guys and Fletcher Cox, hopefully we'll be able to get to Kirk Cousins a little more, hopefully early in the game, and knock him off the stool.
Even Cowboys fans can't resist the word, maybe looking for some pointers. Precisely. That's exactly why they're here.
The
They ain't got
no oblong brown thing with laces on it. The one
and the end zone is typically colored with your team's colors. I know you guys don't know what that is either. So
brutal. They, I mean, looking at the Vikings too, 54 pass attempts, right, for Mac Jones. He had 2.5 seconds to throw. 2.5. Now he put up some yards. There was some broken coverage. You have a new defensive coordinator. That's going to happen, right? But it's not like we're replacing Bradbury with McPherson right now. And I'm not trying to, bag on the guy, but putting him in the slot, or, you're putting a hyper athlete, Eli Ricks, who was one of the top graded corners of the preseason. You have Job, who, I'm definitely not low on. So I feel good about those things. Safety is another thing. Linebacker, we made it work with TJ Edwards, man. And I'm not trying to bag on him either, but he's not a coverage linebacker. That's just not what he does. And so you're going to see some of these injuries, these early injuries, pay huge dividends on the back end of the season when Sidney Brown is pressed into coverage, or there's a matchup situation and you want to get tricky with your defense, right? So 2.5 seconds to throw, not a ton of sacks, but a lot of pressure, a lot of hits, a lot of different things. And our edge rushers practically nothing, right? So you got to assume you're going to get something out of that. Now, add into that Christian Darrisaw, their left tackle, is out for the game most likely. Garrett Bradbury, I think he was their former first-round pick. He's their center. He's out for the game for sure. And now you have a lot of weapons, but as we saw with Jalen Hurts and said earlier, without a lot of time to throw to him, what are you going to do? And
Exactly.
you might argue that a healthy player in Madison is at least replacement better than Dalvin Cook, who was never available. But you can't convince me on any planet that he's more talented or as athletic or as big of a threat, to be a one cut and gone, running back. Madison's not that guy. Now, without a competent linebacking core, you might have an issue with the short yardage runs, but 2.5 seconds, man, to pass. That is not a lot of time, and that's in the rain.
No, it's not. And I think, that's it, as long as we're getting after him. Mac Jones is obviously a little bit more mobile, if you will. He's not exactly slow, but Kirk Cousins, however, he is. So, I think we're definitely going to be seeing a lot more sacks out of these guys this go around. But there's actually one player that I kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts on because, in our game against New England, their tight end is Hunter Henry. This guy, he's bounced around. I think this is his third team now. But he actually ended up having a pretty good game against us. He had 56 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, was targeted 6 times, caught 5 of them. And we're getting ready to go up against another tight end that is rising in the ranks, if you will, of tight ends in the league, as some of these older cats starting to rotate out. And Hawkinson is not a he's not somebody to be slept on. Do you guys think that we are in a tough spot with regards to tight end coverage, especially as we start to get in towards the ass end of this year, where we're going to be playing a potentially a healthy Travis Kelce, depending on if he comes back from this injury, in one piece, and we got some other guys that are not exactly folks to sleep on, Kittle and those of the like. So, are you guys concerned at all with this?
A little bit. I'm not going to sit here and say no. I'm not concerned with it.
I mean,
Hunter Henry's a serviceable tight end, but
Right.
TJ's a lot better than he is. But I'm hoping that Kirk Cousins doesn't have a lot of time to be able to find him down the field, and I think you may see more nickel out of this defense with the linebackers where they are. You know what I mean? You're going to have essentially 4 brand new linebackers starting for this team that have played 1 game, and some with no games underneath of Sean Desai. So it's tough. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if they do play nickel or bring Sidney Brown down in the box to cover a little more. Maybe you throw a Keely Ringo out there as a coverage guy, a little bigger body that might be able to body up with TJ a little bit.
Yeah,
Terry,
and I
what
think
you got, bud?
the guy to look out for. I think the guy to look out for this game is probably Edmonds, and I kind of give him a hard time, but he has a lot of experience playing box safety or playing down safety, right?
Right.
He'd be able to go in there, and because you will need Sidney Brown still on the back end. To me, he's your starting strong safety, most likely.
We have to need the coverage because Reed's not going to be back there, so somebody's got to be able to span the field, and yeah, Sidney Brown's going to be the one that does it. So yeah,
And last time we played Hoskinson or whatever. I'm going to have to learn how to say that guy's weird name. Hopefully not too often this week, but last time we played him, he had 4 receptions for about 40 yards on 7 targets. And I'm not convinced Marcus Epps is the second coming of the greatest safety. I'm not, my thoughts coverage-wise, linebacker from last year, not good. And so the thoughts are, what are you willing to give up? And if you want to go death by 1,000 cuts, you bring down a linebacker or you bring down a safety who's a little smaller in the box and play nickel, he's probably going to get blocked off the ball by a bigger tight end, and that's going to open up some gaps in the running game, right? And so if you want to drop the safety back and you want to play a traditional 3 linebacker front or even a 3-4, you can eliminate that, but you're probably going to take some hits from the tight end across the middle and not being able to cover Addison as effectively. So you kind of have to decide how you want to play, and a lot depends on if they're able to block, And if they're not able to hold on to the ball very long, you're really taking a lot of vertical threat away. Jefferson's amazing, but 2 seconds is not a long amount of time, And so that's what she said somewhere there, I guess. But he really just did a good job, kind of not being open last game, right, and kind of creating a negative space or negative void there. And they solved that by going out and trading for a star tight end and drafting a first-round receiver, who has the skills to kind of take the top off the defense. So it's going to be how the Eagles want to receive their medicine, and if they would like to do it in small doses or big doses. And I think it's all going to be predicated on our ability on offense to run the ball.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I think I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with it. We're getting ready to play a dynamically different team in regards to what they have and where their strengths lie. And yeah, I mean they drop back and if we can get to him and apply as much pressure as possible, you increase obviously the potential for us to be able to get some more interceptions in this game as well with some of these guys. Because I mean, Darius Slay was the only one to have one, and obviously that was for a pick six, 70 yards. That was probably the highlight of the game on Sunday. But we only recorded 2 sacks on Sunday against New England. It was Jordan Davis and Josh Sweat were credited each with a half sack, and then Jalen Carter obviously with the one that we. But we're with this offensive line is obviously not as strong. Not saying that New England's offensive line is all that strong either. But I think they're a whole lot weaker than what New England has at the moment. So, yeah, I think we're gonna end up getting to Kirk a lot. And yeah, I'm hoping that we put into practice this rotation of players on the defensive line as well. I think that keeping fresh legs will definitely have us getting to the quarterback a lot more effectively, because you're going to have guys that are the fact that Fletcher Cox played as much as he did, when I was saying that I think Fletcher Cox is going to be rotating out quite a bit in this game, and that ended up not being the case. He was out there for pretty much a majority of the game. So
I don't mind him being out there the majority of the game
and
as long as he is playing effective, which he was. He was playing very effective, especially at the end of the game. It seemed like he had 2 plays in a row, I think on the second to last drive, where they ended up punting the ball to us. Or no, turned it over on downs, I'm sorry. He had 2 big stops back-to-back plays. And it just showed just how good he is still, even if it's in a rotational spot. Which we talked about before, which is good. It hopefully keeps them healthy, because Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter showed more than enough that they can play, three downs here, because they were just tearing people apart.
Absolutely.
So, and turnabout's fair play, right? As long as you're dissecting teams, they also have a new coordinator on defense, right? Mm-hmm. They also have new schemes to implement. They didn't look particularly effective. Their top safety prospect broke his leg last year. Their top, Andrew Booth, who was supposed to be a big time guy, right? I think coming out of Clemson, maybe, who's kind of put in there as a slot corner. He screwed up his knee. He had to have surgery. He was out for several games. They saw Dantzler go, and Patrick Peterson left. They signed Byron Murphy from the Cardinals. So it's just a whole slew of moves. They do not have a huge, what I would call flourishing consistency, on their defensive secondary either. So they have to stop us too. And that's the best part, is that we also get a chance to score.
Yep.
And we you can like Justin Jefferson and a possible first-round pick, but we have Devonta fucking Smith, baby, and he's about to jam it down their goddamn throat.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking we're we're going to be looking at I think a more complete game from Jalen, and then I think we're going to be looking at a more complete game from our defense as a whole. I don't know that we're necessarily going to be taking our foot off the gas this go around. I think Nick's going to be coming in there. One, being at home, he's going to be looking to send a message, and I think that we're about to see a significantly different game out of these guys rolling into Philadelphia for our first home game. That place is going to be rocking. It's a Thursday night. You're a bunch of Eagles fans are going to be taking off on Friday. So you're going to have people down there starting to drink at fucking 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's going to be loud. And it's going to be pretty relentless. And when you got guys that are pushing people around the way that Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis were doing on this offensive line, it's just going to get louder with every time that these guys put a hit on Kirk Cousins. And so, I think we're looking at an exciting game tomorrow for sure, and one that I'm definitely eager to get to. Tomorrow is going to be a long wait just for 8 o'clock kickoff or 8:15 kickoff. So, you guys got anything last points to add in regards to our defense and what we're anticipating out of them in regards to this matchup that we're going to be seeing them in tomorrow, or any feedback from the win on Sunday? Anything that stuck out to y'all?
Jalen Carter, right? 92 point something, one of the highest graded Pro Football Focus, which I can take or leave depending on the day or their parameters, right? But one of the highest graded rookie defensive tackles in the last 5 years, for sure, by anyone's metrics. He had one of the highest snap win percentages, and a guy not too far behind him was Jordan Davis. So, and you figure in Milton Williams, you got guys that are 22, and 23, maybe 24. That's the core center of your defensive line, come rain or shine. And the Eagles know the assignment, and all we need is Nolan Smith to flash a little bit, and we are really set at D-line.
Yeah, just watching Jordan Davis just push guys around last game, even though, I don't expect Jordan Davis to end with 13 sacks. That's not his game. But just him pushing people out of the way and getting over, and the swim move that Jalen Carter has just to get to the quarterback. The 3 fastest get-off times last week out of every single defensive line player was Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Fletcher Cox. They had the 3 fastest in the NFL, which is it's insane.
Yeah, you don't get that statistic. That doesn't happen like that that often. So, or ever at all. It's probably the first time in history, to be honest with you. So these guys are quick, and I'm just hoping that the dynamic hasn't shifted because of Nakobe Dean being out and us being lackluster in the middle. I mean, Christian Ellis is probably going to be a suitable substitute for this game, but we're potentially getting ready to have to shift ever so slightly as we progress through the season, depending on who it is that we're getting ready to play. So I think us going out and picking up another linebacker is going to be essential. I think Howie's probably already made a few phone calls. We got some draft capital that we could probably trade away or afford to trade away. For the right price, I'll take a linebacker that can come in and fill the void where we're at the moment.
Yeah, we're gonna see. I mean, I love Nakobe Dean, but he's not known as a coverage linebacker. He's not very good in coverage. He wasn't last game before he got hurt, but he's a sure tackler. But coming in, we have Christian Ellis and Nick Morrow now with Cunningham, and they just signed Rashaan Evans, who might actually see some playing time on 4 days of practice coming in. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I'm just very excited to see whether rain or shine with him is Sidney Brown on the field during an actual NFL game. I cannot wait to watch him fly around the football field.
Yeah.
And I already know mistakes are going to be made, but it's all good.
You have that shit-eating grin on your face. What you got, dude?
No, I'm just saying, like, sometimes the chickens come home to fucking roost, man. And when you prepare to fail, how does that saying go? Like, fuck you or something. So we didn't prepare well with linebackers, so fuck us. And we relied on one guy, so fuck us again, right? So, and normally I have to pay double for that. But in this case, it's just one injury to a guy. And I would love to see what we saw in camp a few times, which was Nolan Smith lining up at linebacker and taking some of those off-ball linebacker opportunities. Because you want to talk about being able to show blitz, show pass rush, keep Reddick where he's at, yet also be fast enough, tall enough to really go after, and agile enough to keep after a tight end. That's the guy. And so you put him in there, and they already had practiced that. They had already practiced putting Bradbury at slot. So I know he's out for the game, but let's get Nolan Smith in there. Let's get him some run and let the chips fall where they are, because I really think he's the X factor.
Good.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Well, let's go ahead and get into hit 'em high and hit 'em low. Discuss the point spreads for Sunday and see if any of us ended up covering on some of our bets from last week, and see where we're at for tomorrow.
Hit 'em high, hit 'em low is brought to you by Diet Smoke. So get the best Delta 8 gummies and use code OS or OCSN. Get the OCSN for 15% off. These gummies pretty damn good, and they don't pay me to say that. I mean, they probably should, but I'm telling you, they are salty. They are really, really, really good. So speaking of shit-eating grins, I'm going to throw it to Tommy here so he can talk about
before
the
he
point
falls off
spread
his fucking seat back there.
The over-under. Oh, my God, dude. Are you okay? Like, do you need a few minutes off camera?
I think I heard something hit the bottom of the. I think I heard something hit the bottom of the table.
Oh my, yeah, I know. So we talked about the over/under amazingly, right? 45 on the nose, and even though you thought it was going to be dramatically over, right? But boom, 45 on the nose, and that's the way the cookie crumbles, man. When you all of a sudden score 16-0, I thought, oh, I am absolutely boned. 16-0 right away. I'm like, I am getting boned. And then he missed that kick, and I was like, no, hold on. Doing the math in my head like it could be, but no, had to give it up. Do just a little bit. And, I think that we could, have probably gone way, 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 way over if we hadn't done just a large amount of things incorrectly. Just shooting ourselves in the foot.
Right.
But what do you think? I mean, what do you think about that game? Let's hear your thoughts. The world is waiting.
I was 0.5 off. Like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, I was like, you gotta be shitting me. I was expecting more of a tour de force from this offense. Obviously, I said that they were going to score 35 points. I think you guys each had them at 31. So the fact that we only put up 25, and we all had the Patriots not putting up shit on the offensive front at all, and that ended up not being the case either. So it's Vegas obviously knows something we fucking don't, boys, because that shit.
That's script, Vegas. That's script.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that it was 45.5 and the game ends at fucking 45 points. I was like, you got to be shitting me.
Yeah.
Like, how does that even happen? So,
I mean, what do we say, guys? The house always wins. They call it gambling for a reason, like 1-800-BETS off or some shit. But
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this the house always wins. They came across a lot of stuff, didn't cover. A lot of people lost money, but weirdly enough, the Eagles perfectly hit on this.
Yeah, it was the point spread was what 3.5. Is that what,
Yep.
what it was when we rolled into it? So I mean, they covered that. Well,
So
I
we
mean,
won
you
the
know,
game and covered, and we're this pissed off.
yeah. Well,
Wow,
you know,
I mean, welcome to being a Philadelphia fan.
Yeah.
Just endless fucking misery, even in wins. But to turn a phrase from you, Tommy, with that being said, let's talk about the spread of the game coming up. All right. So we have some team, up north. I can't remember what they're called. But the Eagles, it looks like it's a 6.5, anywhere from 7. And earlier this week, it was almost a 9 or 8.5 point spread in favor of the Eagles. Now those are gone. It's down to 6.5, and in some cases 5.5. So faith in the Eagles is dwindling a little bit, but I think at 6.5, that's a pretty safe bet. And the over under on it's 49, and I think it's going to go way the fuck over. I'll tell you why, because you have not the weather. You have two teams that are pissed off, one that felt like they lost and won, the Eagles, and one in the Minnesota somethings that did blow it, right? And they have a Justin Jefferson who's irked as fuck about getting absolutely copy pasted, cut out of the game by Darius Slay, 0 for 2 and an interception. And so you look at 49, it seems like a high number, and it is, but man, this could easily, I think, go over. I mean, you have two teams looking for something to prove and defenses that are beat up. They lost their star defensive end Davenport as well.
right.
Yeah. With
what do you think?
I'm taking it over with. I could see like a 37-31 type shootout game, because you have essentially 2 new starting safeties, 2 new starting linebackers, new starting corner. That's a lot to be going on. And I'm saying new starting with only 1 game under their belt with Sean Desai. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially with Sidney Brown coming in, Josh Dover, Eli Ricks on the outside, Justin Evans or whoever else they put in that spot back there, Terrell Edmonds possibly. So there can be a lot of points being put up with this. Could be. I'm taking it over on it at was it 49.5 you said?
Yeah, 49.
Yep. Yeah. I'm taking it over with it.
Last time we played the Vikings with I would say they had a better offensive line than they will definitely have coming in. And Cousins was, of course, a turnover machine. He's not very good in prime time. Threw for 300 yards. He was their leading rusher with like 20 yards. So it's he's got some stuff, and he doesn't do well. He is not good against the spread. All right. So I don't see them kind of coming out and just absolutely tearing it up. And they didn't really show much for offense week 1. Jefferson had 150 yards on like 8 or 9 receptions and 60 yards and a touchdown from their rookie, right? And they had practically nothing else after that. And they lost to Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay, I mean, isn't Mayfield the quarterback? Like, Jesus.
Baker Mayfield, yeah.
Have some pride.
Yeah, that's that one. Yeah, I think I'm going on the over on this as well. I think we're getting ready to have a barn burner here. This one's going to be high scoring. I definitely think we're seeing 30 points out of both teams easily. So the 49 is I think an easy one to make sure you cover down on without question. So MVP for last week, we all picked players rolling into this, and we'll do it again here in a minute. But none of us hit on our MVP for this last game. Matt, you had Goddard.
Big old goose egg.
Yep.
But
I had
was
Swift.
open.
Yeah, he was open.
Yep. I had Swift, and Carrington had Penny, and Penny didn't even play. So,
They didn't dress him, for Christ's sake.
Imagine how Rashad Penny felt when he got pulled into the office for that one. Like, hey, by the way, hold this clipboard.
Hey, we got to have Covey come in, man. Sorry about it.
Yeah. Here you go.
And you know what, Covey? I've got to say though, Covey had a good return game last week, and Sipos had a great punting game in shit conditions. So like, I'll eat the L's wherever I can, man, because that dude got it done. I still don't think he's our punter. I still would not like him to be here, but like, I'll keep him on the Christmas card list when he's cut. How's that?
Yeah.
Better?
Yeah, right. As everybody tells me when they don't like me, he's just a nice guy, so it's okay. We'll just do that.
He's nice. We'll keep him. He's nice.
So yeah, what is that? He seems like a nice guy. The guy's trying to steal your company, and he seems like a nice guy. He seems like a nice
guy.
So looking at MVP odds too, since you brought up MVP in general, when we started the season and right before this week, Hurts was plus 900. He remains unmoved by that. Patrick Mahomes is still plus 600. And the interesting riser to me is Tua, who is plus 2,000 right now, is second, even above Hurts at plus 700 for MVP odds right now. And I mean, I'm telling you, and I think we talked about getting in on Tua and, kind of putting a bet on him. And I'm telling you, now he's climbed up and that's out of the stratosphere above even Hurts. So waste your money if you want on that guy.
Mm-hmm. At 2,000, I may have taken a flyer for $10, but at plus 700, that's not happening.
Pass.
Yeah.
So Burrow is at 1,000. Herbert's at 1,000. Hurts is 900, and then it's Tua, and then Patrick Mahomes.
I'm just glad they still don't have Josh Allen anywhere on that list.
What about Aaron Rodgers? He is still.
What's his?
Believe it or not, he's still sixth.
Is he still sixth?
Wow.
That's wild. 4 turnovers. He's still sixth with all this.
He's sixth. The man looking like the reincarnation of Carson Wentz out there. And I mean, the resemblance and the running style, the ball physicality, everything else, it's uncanny. But yeah, he's still there at sixth, and that's a little shocking.
Yeah.
I would definitely have thought that would have fell, but I mean, okay, whatever. All right, so who is your guys' pick for MVP for tomorrow? Let's see if any of us can get this shit right this time.
I'm sticking with the same guy. I'm sticking with Dallas Goedert. I think Jalen Hurts, if they go back and look at tape and they see how open Goddard was on a few plays, and he just missed them.
Right.
and
Could be looking.
Yeah, and I think that he might try to force feed him the ball, just as a whoops, I'm sorry, and he might not do it thinking about it, going to the game like, oh, I'm just going to throw it to him whenever he wants, but I think he's going to be looking for him more, especially in the shorter passing game. Maybe not because last year they were really good with getting him the ball in like a little bubble screen and getting him, getting those linemen in front of him and get going. So I'm sticking with Dallas Goedert. I think he's at least going to score a touchdown and 65 plus yards.
Okay, Matt.
Tommy, what do you think, man?
You know what? I'm going to go to the other side of the ball. I think Jalen Carter is going to be a player or the MVP. I think we're about to see some big tackles out of him. I think we're going to see a couple sacks out of him. So yeah, I think Jalen Carter is going to end up being the guy. If I'm limiting it to one person. But overall, I just think the defensive line as a whole is going to have a game. So yeah, I'll stick with the one that I think is going to be the shining star on this one, and that'll be Jalen Carter.
And I think that's a good pick, man. Bradbury's out, the left tackle's out, so they're going to be trying to gang block, and you got to already, even if you have a talented offensive line, you're having to pick and choose, right?
Right.
And that's the beauty of it.
You said their center's out?
What's that?
You said the Minnesota center is out.
Yeah, Garrett Bradbury. He's been ruled out already, and Christian Darrisaw, he is listed as an extreme game time decision.
Here you go, backup center. Here's 300 pounds of Jordan Davis and violent Jalen Carter.
Yep.
So, have at it.
I mean,
Yeah.
and they didn't get better on offensive line. I mean, not from all the metrics I'm saying, and they struggled last week against Tampa.
Yeah.
So who's kind of due? Their defense was kind of due for kind
There
of
we
a
go.
season. Nice.
Still taking the over, so we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
for
only
sure.
betting
We're still good.
Vikings 3, Eagles 57. God bless. We were thinking it was going to be a barn burner. If it becomes that score, I'll be a happy camper.
I'll be so happy because I got to get up Friday morning at 3:30 for work. So I'll be very happy I can go to bed in like the third quarter if it's 45-3. I feel a lot better.
Damn right. For sure.
Just to be clear, though, if you go to sleep and they somehow come back and
Call,
beat
wake
us,
me up. Call, wake me up. I don't care.
Yeah, I will for
Keep
sure.
calling.
Like,
Just keep calling.
I think that's what the police are for, like to do one of those emergency knocks on your door, right?
Yeah, just start swatting my house.
It's an emergency.
All right.
I-
so
I-
Who you got for MVP, Carrington?
I would be a hero and arrested. I am going to take Devonta Smith because I think Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, they got the connection. Last time they played, AJ Brown had 7 or 8 receptions. He had a pretty good game. But you have to pick somebody similar to on the offensive line. You have to pick somebody to block, right? And I think that while Goddard is probably the easiest trending pick for me, I think that's dead on actually. And Jalen Carter on defense, I think that's perfect too because of their limitations. But I'm going to go out of the box a little bit and say, skinny Batman, because I mean, that dude just gets it done. His yards after the catch, he takes big hits. They have limited production out of their safeties. They lost Patrick Peterson. Who's their shutdown corner? Somebody name me some reliable corner for the Vikings.
Yeah.
See, I'm not going to fucking even get into this because we tried to do the same thing with the Patriots and they ended up punching us in the mouth. So
I forgot about Christian Gonzalez last week. I totally forgot that he got drafted by the Patriots.
Yeah, but did you die, Tommy? We won the game, right?
I think he did die for a little bit.
I know.
I
think he did.
I did ever so slightly, and there may or may not have been a significant amount of alcohol consumed on that Sunday that I may have died when I went home. So
I may have even heard that a little.
Was the TV intact in the hotel room?
So I was actually out at a bar watching it.
Okay.
So I got looked at pretty few times, a little sideways. Because I was the only Eagles fan in there screaming at the TV. And the next day at the conference, everybody's like, "Yo, are you that Eagles fan from at the bar last night?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am."
Sure am.
Yep. So
It's
fortunately, I'll be watching games from home for here on out the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
There's no fun in that. Go out.
Yeah.
I was strangely calm, even through all the chaos. I think just based off of it's coming down, to who's going to be able to move the ball, and I have zero faith in Mac Jones at all. So even though he moved the ball a little bit and stuff, they're mostly broken plays, and some just kind of crazy shit happened. But they don't have a lot of whoever that safety is, some old fuck, on their team, and from a shit school too. I can't remember. Harrison Smith. That's it.
Notre Dame. That's right. I forgot.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So Harrison Smith, and then they have that. What is it? Lewis Cine? Is that how you say his last name? It's Cine.
Yeah.
I mean, their safeties are busted and they are slow. And then you had Quez Watkins, who, by the way, also quietly kind of had a pretty good game in his limited opportunities.
Yeah.
So he was better with run after the catch than I thought he normally was. He had a couple nice grabs with some hard fought yards after his catches.
And also Devonta Smith, anytime touchdown plus 600.
Yeah.
That's a good one to take too.
Yeah. He might end up getting his second one of the year with this.
And
I think
your boy Ian Book trying out for the 49ers.
why we gotta start? Like we're good. New York Jets need a quarterback now too.
Mm.
They're talking about Jacoby Brissett, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Or Carson
All right.
Wentz. You never know.
So
Mariota.
yeah. I think that's gonna just about wrap it up for us tonight. Eagles game tomorrow. It says kickoffs at 8:15. It'll probably be closer to 8:30 by the time they do all the bullshit and all the fancy stuff. But Birds the Word is brought to you by Old City Sports Network. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at Birds the Word and Old City Sports. Also check us all out on Twitter. All our Twitter handles are under there. You can also check us out at Birds the Word 57. And with that, boys, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. But we got an interesting one tomorrow, and we look forward to discussing some post-game stuff with y'all. Hopefully sometime this weekend, possibly next week, depending on where we're at. But with that, we'll go ahead and close it out.